show studio. This is your Ghostman and Demon Hunter show.
Doesn't that sound exciting to you?
Hey, welcome back, Shadow Nation, to the one, the only, mystifying Oracle Radio, your Ghostman and Demon Hunter show. Demon Hunter.
Yes, sir. That's me. How you doing? I'm glad to be here. What you up to? Okay.
All right, that's it, man. That's a show right there, buddy. Hey, special thanks to all our homes, all our sponsors, Action Audio Apps. Hey, are you listening? They want to know, so check them out. ActionAudioApps.com, Planet Paranormal, Stitcher Smart Radio. And our buddies in Canada, Paranormal A.
Hey!
That's right, guys. Thank you all for being so cool.
Hey.
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 Welcome back to studio, guys. Happy almost Memorial Day. Or Memorial Day.
Well, yeah. Well, tomorrow's Memorial.
Tomorrow's, but we won't be on the air tomorrow. So to all
we won't be on the air tomorrow.
To all the
but
troops,
people will be listening to us on archives while they're sitting around eating hot dogs and hamburgers and...
That's true. I had family over day. But, yeah, absolutely, nothing but respect for our current and past soldiers overseas and here at home that have fought the good fight for all of us. America. Happy Memorial Day. America. Best place in the world. Thank you so much for being here. I said Happy Memorial Day, right?
You did.
All right, great. Well, this is going to be a good show tonight. We got a great one coming on, but before we get into that, I want to tell you about family chemistry.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Well, it's Memorial Day weekend, so a lot of families around the country get together to love one another, share joy, if you will. Do you know this? Do you believe this to be true?
I would say I do believe that there are families out there who love each other, yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, our family gets together. No, we got together today. We roasted some, cooked some brats, got the grill going. Of course, today, the Indianapolis 500. It's over today. That's kind of what Indiana's, or at least Indianapolis, is known for. And that happened today, guys. It's like the Mardi Gras of the race world. I stay away from it. But the family comes over. We're all listening to the race out in the garage, or my dad mostly. And I never understood, I don't know. Family comes over, and they're always, like, standing around. My dad, he never likes to stay anywhere. Let's start with him. So, I don't know how your dad was or your mom, but when they come over, I love my dad, but he's usually like, as soon as he hits, they have a little dog with the smashed-in face. I forget what it was. Papa Peruzzi or whatever. They get special names for him. But Dad paces back and forth. He'll eat, and then Dad will be like, well, I don't know, Maggie. That's the dog's name. Maggie, are you ready to go home? Who's got a father like this? Show of hands, Shadow Nation. Do you got a dad like that?
I don't have a dad.
No, but you did it one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad did not like to go anywhere.
Right.
I think in my entire childhood,
Right.
except when I'd go to visit my dad at work, I never saw him outside of the house or working on the farm.
Yeah.
And we went on one vacation together.
Okay.
My entire life. And
He was an old school farmer.
Yeah, I think he went to one party with us once, and but about halfway through the party, it was the first party I'd ever had a drink at.
Okay.
I was 17 years old, and they put me in charge of the bar. So I started, or no, I guess I must have been 18.
That was wise of them.
Yeah, and I was mixing a drink, serving a drink, drinking a drink, mixing a drink, serving a drink, drinking two drinks, mixing a drink, serving a drink, drinking three drinks.
Gotcha again.
And then my father looked at me, I sat down, and he goes, well, I've had a couple beers, want to go home, you better drive me. And I didn't dare tell him that I'd been drinking, so...
Thing about that driving thing, Dad, is...
Scotty, beat me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, well, Dad, can we wait just about 6 or 7 hours, and then I can drive you home? And,
How did you pull that off? I mean, how did you make your dad stay?
I didn't make my dad stay. He drove home.
Professional drunk.
Well, he drove home because he was better than I was. But then he made me drive with him.
Yeah.
And then he was like, all right, you can drive back now. And so I waited around a little while before I did that.
Yeah. Well, I never did that with Dad. My dad's just, 76 years old. Dad's such a big talker and everything, but I just don't think he likes to be. Heck, I'm 39 years old. I don't want to get out of my chair if I have to or deal with anything. Life just beats you down, man, with work.
Oh, yeah. I come home from work. I work with chemicals all day, so I come home, I change my clothes, I hop in the shower, I walk downstairs, I sit in my chair. That's usually about the time my wife, Chrissy, gets home, and she'll look over and go, oh, so-and-so is coming over tonight. And my eyes just kind of roll.
Yeah, it's like, Jesus, can I get a minute? Yeah, anyway, Dad always does that.
I don't think women understand the 20-minute decompress time that guys need.
No, because they can jump up and be right on it. I mean,
when I get home from work, I need at least 20 minutes of absolute silence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. And, that's the one thing. Women, we don't dislike you or not love you. We just need that time. Men need that time.
Yeah, and if you make us do anything before we get that 20-minute decompress period, that's when we're in our bad moods all night.
Right.
Because we didn't get our 20 minutes.
You're like, what's wrong with you? Somebody's on the rag. No, anyway, Dad.
The comments of Sean Burris do not represent those of GhostMan&Demon or other villains.
Well, that's what they say. Watch a movie, guys. It's said in the movies. But, Dad he never wants to tell Mom, what do you think we should go? Because Mom always gets into his butt. So he talks to the dog. Well, Maggie. And then he tries to explain every single time we have an outing. Well, Sean, Maggie's an indoor dog. I'm like, Dad, today I just said, listen, man, just pump the brakes. If you want to go, go ahead and go. And then Dad still does that. And nicest man you will meet. But Dad still does that. And you guys got to email us about your father. Tell us about your best experience during a family cookout or whatever.
Father's Day is coming up.
It is coming up. I don't know what I'm going to get. But another thing about Dad, he said, hey, can I have a cup of coffee? And I said, yeah, let me run in there and get a cup of coffee. And he says, well, no, and if you're going to make some, then it'll be okay. And I said, well, Dad, do you want coffee or not? Do you do that? Did your dad used to do that?
Oh, yeah, my mother does it too. She's always like, well, only if you have some ready. I'm like, Mom, I have a Keurig. Right. I make it cup at a time. Right. It's fine.
Yeah, that's what I told him too. So anyway, that was it. But yeah, Father's Day's coming up. Dad finally got Mom to leave the house, and they're heading back. They should be back home. I was literally picking up beer cans out back from the party and running down to studio tonight. Anyway.
Is it nice enough? Are you doing all your preparations for late spring, early summer?
I don't know. Does that mean preparations by cutting grass every other day? Because that's what
yeah. Well, like today, I took the grill out and washed the grill out, and then, of course, you have to turn it on, dry it off because you don't want it to rust.
Right.
And, so I washed the grill and got it all ready to start barbecuing because summer, unofficial first day of summer tomorrow, and once that hits, I pretty much cook outdoors every day of the week.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, that's the best way to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Are you a charcoal briquette man or are you propane guy?
I'm a propane guy. I will charcoal briquette. I actually prefer the flavor you get from a charcoal fire.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
But since I cook every day on the grill, it's a little bit of hassle to do it. So.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I went to, you know how I'm always talking about living more healthy and doing things with the family and stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Getting the whole family.
You're such a healthy guy.
Well, I try. Those candy bars, I get regular size Snickers, not full size. Try to show some restraint there. Anyway, I'm okay. And we went to a place called Shifty Falls State Park in Indiana here, and it's down by Corydon, Indiana, which you wouldn't know.
Are there any monster stories or?
Well, that's the thing, man. Last week's it's a little side note to the adventure here. Clifty Falls State Park in southern Indiana. But before we got there, this is in southern Indiana. We had to go down 65 south, heading towards Louisville. Columbus, Indiana is that way. And if you remember last week's Legend X,
yes, sir,
the Mill Creek Monster. I was about 2 miles from there. I had all the kids with me, And my youngest, my 9-year-old, my youngest is my daughter. Him and her were down. My oldest was like, whatever, Dad. Because he's at that cool age now, 13, where nobody in the world's ever been 13 and understand yet. So,
and dads just don't understand. And dads used to be the coolest guy on earth, but now it's just kind of lame that dad hunts monsters and ghosts.
Thing about it is, I started talking to, because we stopped at Bob Evans, a restaurant there. Yeah, I already said it, so too late. Shameless plug on Bob Evans. But got the fried chicken. It was great, actually. But anyway, I asked the waitresses. There was a couple of them, looked pretty old, about the Mill Creek Monster. They said they'd never heard about it.
Really?
Never heard about, and that was supposedly the largest monster hunt in history in the United States.
My goodness.
Yeah. Anyway, we never got to go there because Stacy wanted to go to Clifty Falls State Park. And it's called Clifty Falls because of the falls there. And there's like an 80-foot tall fall, 100-foot tall. And, I never knew anything like this was. I knew similar things, but I didn't know there was parks that you could go see, falls in Indiana. But I went out there, and they have these trails. They have like 7 trails that you can hike. And I'm thinking, trails are peaceful. You go a little off the beaten path. You're back in the woods. You hear the birds. And, oh, my God, in the shadow of the trees. So I got the kids. And we start walking, and I see these trails, and they're going up, 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 up on this huge cliff, big rock formations, and then they go down, 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 down. And the trails are like 4 feet, if you're lucky, 3 to 4 feet in width. And some parts are not very laid out there. Don't look too good, and they got rocks, where you could slip and trip. And you look to your right, my friend, you're looking at about a 100-foot drop, give or take, anywhere you go when you're up at a certain point. I have Sis, which is 5-year-old. I have the 13-year-old, probably staring at his phone, and I have Drake, the 9-year-old, and me and Stacy, and we're trying to keep him in line. But it was, we got up there, man. We started walking the trails, and finally we made it to the bottom of the canyon after about an hour and a half of doing these trails. Stacy was dead. My legs were rubber, but we got down there. It was real cool and peaceful, and, the river was running through, state parks.
Oh, yeah.
But at the end, we didn't know how to get back, so we had to go back to where we first, where we ended. When we ended the trails, we had to walk back. There was a way to get through the woods and go back a faster way, but I had my trusty compass. We were lost for a minute, but I used the compass, and we had to go all the way uphill, and then once we got on the blacktop, we don't dare go back into the woods where we were lost, so we followed the blacktop road for about 3 miles on foot and found our car, and when we got back, we were gone. So my legs are hurting a little bit.
And you were carrying
Clifty
at least
Falls.
one kid during all that, I'm sure.
Sissy was on my shoulders saying, my feet hurt. And I'm like, great, because I'm already carrying 50 pounds of backpack material, sippy cups and whatevers, and soda pops. And then Sissy, jumps on up there, and I'm carrying her. But, yeah, I did it. It was good. Dad's got broad shoulders. I did it. That was my weekend. There it is.
Hey, I told you last weekend I went up to see the home of John Greenleaf Whittier.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that. Yeah.
But on the way up, we had to drive down 691. And as you're driving down 691 in Connecticut, I think I showed it to you when you came to visit. There's a castle up on a hill.
Yeah. I think so.
And that's where the black dog of Connecticut is spotted.
Okay.
The one where if you see him once, it's good luck, twice, it's bad luck, 3 times, you're going to die.
Okay.
And
but twice, if you die, that's bad luck.
Yeah, well, that's if you see him twice, chances are you're going to see him a third time because you already got the bad luck.
Should be like
a third time.
Yeah, it should be like bad luck and really bad luck.
You know my rule. If I'm walking up that path and I see the dog, I walk down with my eyes closed.
Right.
So it's but we had to drive past it, and that's Castle Craig, and it's really just a tower. It's not a real castle. It's just a castle tower that was built up there. But I have convinced Chrissy P, my lovely wife, that we need to go on a trip up there because she wants to see the castle. So.
Is that abandoned? Is the castle abandoned?
No, it's a monument now, so the state takes care of it.
Okay.
But I've convinced her that we need to go there, and so hopefully very soon I will be taking a trip up to Castle Craig, and I'll be able to report if there's any black dogs running around.
That would be very cool. I bet it's very peaceful up there. Or you think the teenagers go out there at night, I'm sure.
Well, it's pretty well protected, kind of like Gettysburg. Remember, you couldn't get anywhere near the parks, and the cops stopped me just because I was driving slow.
Right, absolutely. I heard you seen a much anticipated movie this weekend.
I did.
Really?
I did see a much anticipated movie.
Oh, nice.
I went to see Poltergeist.
Okay.
The remake of the 1980s classic, now starring Sam Rockwell and Rosemary DeWitt.
DeWitt,
yeah.
She's sexy. I always thought she was sexy.
She's a cutie pie.
Yeah, she is.
But it was good. Out of 10, I'd give it a 6.5.
Mm.
It wasn't like a horrible remake of, so many people shy away from the remakes of the horror films now because we love the originals.
Yes, we do. It's like redoing Jaws.
When they first started doing the remakes, we were like, yeah, they're going to remake it. And you'd go and it was horrible.
Yeah.
So you'd walk away saying, no, I want nothing more to do with this. And people have kind of been put off by the remakes now. So I was a little worried, but I went, and I have to say that Rockwell and DeWitt did a wonderful job playing the parents.
Okay.
And this particular showing of Poltergeist was more about the family and less about the ghosts.
Okay.
There was a lot more family background. You learn little bit by bit what their background is. You like the dad and the mom because, in the first one, the dad and the mom were a little stiff and you weren't sure what to make of them. But this one, you really liked them. And but the problem was a lot of CGI.
Oh, did they kill it with CGI, though?
They didn't kill it with CGI, but... and I don't want too many spoilers for the people, but when the mom goes in the closet in the original to find Carol Ann, and then she gets pulled out the other side?
Yeah, with the tennis balls and stuff.
Right. Well, in this one, they show you what's inside the closet.
Oh!
And that's interesting, but when they first start showing you, they use a clever technique to show you what's in the closet. But then they start showing you more and more and more. And you really didn't need that much. It was kind of neat when you didn't know what was on the other side.
All right.
And
so you're not going to tell us, right, what's on the other side?
No, I'm not going to tell you.
Oh.
Tell you what's on. Do you want to know what's on the other side?
I do. Tell me when the show's over.
Okay, I'll tell you when the show's over.
The rest of you will have to
everybody
see.
else can go see the movie.
Yeah.
But and it jumps right into the haunting. With the original Poltergeist, you had people who were, the family moves in, they're happy. A few little weird things start to happen.
Okay.
Then the few more things happen. Then all of a sudden, the chairs are moving by themselves, and this and that and the other thing. And they start to enjoy it a little bit. It's a little freaky, but they enjoy it all the same. Ooh, we have a ghost. Ooh.
Yeah, in the first one, they thought it was cool, too.
Yeah. Well, that's the first one. In this one, literally, day one, the little girl is talking to a ghost.
Right.
Day two, and night one, she's talking to him through the TV.
Oh. Day
two, weird stuff starts to happen. Night two, the ghosts try to eat people.
Okay.
It's like right there. It happens at the beginning of the movie, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it's
remember,
I'd say 6.5 out of 10, Sean. 6.5 out of 10.
6.5 out of 10. That's not bad. That's doable. Because a lot of these are turds that they remake.
Yeah, and I mean, this wasn't as... I mean, there have been some really bad remakes of...
Well, Rob Zombie got a shellacking over the remake of Halloween.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
and rightfully so. I'm kidding.
I don't know. I've never watched it. I can't break the spell of what I grew up with. I can't. And Jamie Lee Curtis's Hooters. I just cannot... it does something for me. It's the 70s Hooters, that were in the bell-bottom jeans and all that. Left something to, fantasize about rather than just coming out and showing it all,
And I gotta say...
It's exciting.
Replacing Zelda Rubinstein.
Yes.
With Jared Harris.
Okay.
Okay, so he's only a little bit taller than she was.
Right.
But... We're going to get our hate mail from Jared Harris now.
Here goes the hate mail. Next week's guest. Yeah. Because, we get movie stars on here. So.
But
it happens.
He was okay, but he was no Zelda. You know, it's this house is clean. It's not the same.
You got to tell me though. Does he say that in there?
Do you want to know?
Yes, I want to know. The Shadow Nation wants to know.
He doesn't say it in the same way, but he here's the funny thing. He is the host of a ghost hunting show.
Oh, imagine that.
That is his catchphrase on the ghost hunting show. Yeah. So that's how he says it on that.
Yeah. I'm sure this will be this will draw out only the best from the paranormal community to come forward and try to make a quick fast buck off the poltergeist ride.
This is Cardigan Burke, and I'm here to clean house.
And I mean business. Demon Hunter, what time do you think it is?
I'd say it's probably time for In the News.
No. How about tonight's guest?
Oh, okay, that.
You're jumping the gun. Tonight,
I'm all excited.
You are excited. So am I, guys. This is going to be a hot one. Tonight's guest. Since the spring of 1966, the Reed family UFO case has been one of the most studied and researched cases in America. Recently, the Reed family case has yet again made history that will possibly change the world's outlook on the existence of UFOs and aliens. Tonight's guest, Thomas Reed from the Reed family UFO cases, stops by studio, guys. He's going to tell us exactly what happened when he was a young child back in 1966. UFOs! We find out tonight with the Reed story, only at the home of the mystifying Oracle of Radio, your Ghostman and Demon Hunter show. That's right here, guys. Yeah.
Turn your dial to the Ghostman and Demon Hunter.
That's it. Thomas Reed just made some headway in American history, my friend. Big night tonight. This is recent. This just happened not too long ago.
Yeah.
And what amazed me is I didn't even know it happened.
It didn't happen to you, so you weren't paying attention.
Right. Well, it happened to all of us if you live in the United States. I think this is going to be a world-changing move, and I think you're going to see some stuff. This is definitely, we can't get into it, guys. We'll let Thom, get into it tonight. I don't want to call him Thomas. Thomas sounds so, stiff. He seems like a nice guy, loose guy.
Yeah. He said, he asked us, so what kind of show are you guys doing? We were like, that depends. What kind of show do you want to do?
We do a bad one. Yeah. Anyway.
We're bad guys.
We are.
We wear black hats and ride black horses.
I was looking at some stuff to talk about tonight. You ready for this?
I'm always ready.
Yeah, whatever. I was looking up some stuff to talk about tonight, guys, and I was looking at topics and stuff like that. And the regular, UFO sighted over wherever, Uranus is going to crash into Earth or whatever. But tonight, here are 22 weird things you didn't know about the world around you.
Okay.
Unbelievable. You want to hear them?
Sure.
Number
I want to
one.
know if I didn't know these things.
You might not. Number one, this supersonic jet prototype uses external cameras and displays instead of windows.
Okay.
Yeah, which is it's a prototype jet for people that can't stand to be outside flying. So basically, it's TVs on both sides. These external cameras.
Okay, so they're flying, but they only have cameras.
Yeah.
And if the cameras go down, they can't see.
Exactly. So the people that would like to see outside, they can watch the cameras. The ones that don't could cure, what do they call it?
But the pilots still have windows.
Well, I would hope so. I would definitely hope so. I don't know. Maybe not. Be like flying a shoebox with a little hole in it. Hey, number two, this cat breed, you should know about this. The Ashera, Ashera, can be sold for millions of dollars.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what's so special about it.
I need to start breeding some Ashera kitties.
So the answer to your question, what's the most expensive cat breed in the world? The Ashera. It's been sold for millions of dollars and will always be sold for millions of dollars. In a Norwegian prison, number three this is, an inmate can visit with family members in this house if they didn't get to take leave. In a special house if he didn't get to take leave, like for his family or whatever. So basically they put together like a condominium house. Just for the prisoners to, that wasn't really exciting, was it?
Here in the U.S., they give them a trailer, don't they?
Yeah. Then they did a Most collection of confiscated prison shanks have been turned into works of art donated to the states that they were confiscated in. Like from the airport and prisons and everything that they, pocket knives, stuff like that. People always say, what happened to my stuff at the airport? Or maybe Bubba at prison said, what happened to my toothbrush shank or with the metal piece on the end? They melt them down, and a lot of people are doing, believe it or not, they're doing artwork out of them. Apparently,
Shank art.
Shank art! Yeah, I don't know. That's what they're doing. This carnivorous labyrinth. Wait, not carnivorous. Cavernous labyrinth. The labyrinth's not going to eat you guys. This cavernous labyrinth exists 16 stories below the streets of Manhattan.
Really?
Yeah, it deals into the Ghostbusters movie. Some of the filming locations they did. There's a huge cavern underneath. Oh, God, what street does it say? It doesn't bring up the street. We'll have to look in that. Cavernous labyrinth exists 16 stories below the streets of Manhattan, and it talks about scene in the Ghostbusters movie.
What was
Ghostbusters 2.
Why was the labyrinth built?
It doesn't say. We'll have to look it up. These are just telling you quick shots of cool things you wouldn't believe.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Check that out.
I like that
16 stories. Demon Hunter.
That's pretty far down.
Yeah.
That's where the subterranean reptilian overlords are building their city.
Right. Can a cell provider really cover you in the middle of nowhere?
I suppose if you had a satellite phone.
It says U.S. Cellular offers coverage where you'd least expect it. Turning the middle of nowhere into the middle of anywhere. Quite possibly, this cell phone service, from studies tested, would provide cellular phone service in space on the moon.
Well, if you're on the moon, you'd be in space, so I get that.
In the space on the moon. But would you figure you'd get cell reception on the moon?
I would not.
That's what
I
they
didn't
say.
think they'd built a tower up there.
Well, I'm hoping you would, instead of a smart alecky comment about space and the moon, I figured you'd get excited and go, oh, Jesus, I can't believe you got a cell service on the moon.
Well, have they tested this yet? Nobody's been to the moon in a while.
By test of the test that they have performed, they believe that they could do this because of the satellite positioning and all this. This is the best missed call ever, number 7. There was a phone that was set to be the detonator for an IED. The place call didn't work as a trigger for the bomb. Instead, it sent a tweet saying missed call. Yeah. That's one for the terrorists.
I guess that's better than a phone that was set to be the trigger for an IUD.
Yeah. So I guess this was like, some idiot wanted to blow something up, probably a building or something. So he set the cell phone as a timer or whatever, and all the cops had found it, and everybody was standing around like in one of the movies, and right down to 3, 2, 1, missed call, 1 missed call. That's terrific. Yeah. I don't know. Danielle Westbrook, an English actress, had her nose, after 10 years of cocaine abuse, deteriorated so bad. The middle section there, what is that? The cartilage in the middle?
Okay.
Disappeared.
My goodness.
Yeah, because of the cocaine use, now she has one huge hole. Still has her nose, her nasal cavities, but no center part there. Didn't even tell me what the center part is. It just looks like she has a vacuum for her nose, like an anteater or something.
She's a Hoover.
Yeah, and she's real pretty. Anyway. Lewis Gibson has worked as the police sketch artist for 34 years. Huh?
Septum, sorry.
Septum, yeah, the septum.
There you go.
Yeah, so the septum's totally out. Must have been some great cocaine. Now she can really suck it down.
They must have mixed that with some good Drano there.
Lewis Gibson is the greatest sketch artist the police have ever seen in the United States. I'm sorry, it doesn't say United States. In the country. But it doesn't look like he's from the United States. Who knows? He's helped solve over 10,500 cases. Huh?
That's pretty cool.
And it's not a him, it's a her, but it looks like a him. Sorry about that.
It wasn't a self-sketch, was it?
Sorry about that, Lois. It's Lois or Lewis, I don't know.
The only problem is every sketch she has drawn of a villain has him either riding a skateboard or playing baseball.
Well, she just got put in the Guinness World Book of Records, but I definitely wouldn't put her there for the 10,500 cases she saw with her sketch drawings. Definitely B for her mustache and 5 o'clock shadow.
What?
Oh, she looks terrible. Yeah. I don't know. After Rhode Island...
Another person won't be a guest on our show.
Yeah, check this out. Number 10. After Rhode Island accidentally legalized prostitution, reports of rape decreased. Huh?
Really?
Yeah. So now, apparently, Rhode Island's a cool place to be.
Well, you know, I don't know if that's still a legalized profession in Rhode Island. We'll have to look that up.
Yeah. In 2008, a chimp named Dorothy had, 750 fellow chimps show up to her service when she passed away. They all showed up to pay their respects. It's pretty cool. I'm looking at the picture right now. 750. So that was almost the entire of the reserve or whatever they had there in that little park. Zoo or whatever. Yeah, showing that chimps have emotion.
Well, here you go, Sean. A little tip on the last one there. Prostitution in Rhode Island was outlawed in 2009. Yeah. On November 3rd, 2009, Governor Donald, I don't know his last name, signed into law a bill that makes the buying and selling of sexual services a crime. So it's no longer legal in Rhode Island, Sean. Sorry.
Anyway,
sorry.
That's all I'm getting right here. I don't think they have any more.
And chimps have emotions.
Yeah. Chimps have emotions.
There you go.
They show emotion. I'm sorry. And nobody understood if they, animals were. You've heard they said that the human race is the only animal, or mammal, or whatever on Earth that can contemplate its own death. Well, they're now saying that chimpanzees as well can.
Well, maybe they're not contemplating death, but they have a sense of loss.
Well, that's a fine line, my friend. Loss, death, contemplation of anything. If they can think, right? I think, therefore I am. Think about it, my friend. Think deep about things before you speak, please.
I'll think like a chimp.
Think like it. You already do.
I want a banana.
Woo. You can't do that. That's chimp profiling. It is. Demon Hunter, do you know what time this is?
Is now the time to say in the news?
You heard the man. It's always fresh. It's always exciting, strange, and weird, and it's straight from the G&D show vaults. And it starts right now. That had a lot of good effort tonight. A lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement.
Made people wait for it.
It's all about the intro. Yeah, it's all about the intro with our show. People get excited. Our voices tell you to get excited or to get sad or serious. That's what we do.
That's right.
Why don't you tell them the, rules?
That's right, folks. It's time for Ghostman and Demon Hunter in the news. That's weird news that Sean and I pick right out of the paper. Well, off the internet. We pick them because we like the titles, and we haven't gotten to read the stories yet, which means we're probably going to make a lot of mistakes. Every time we make a mistake, you take a drink. That's the G&D drinking game. Listen for the bell, because if you miss the mistake, Sean will try and let you know. But
try.
We might just tell you.
Yeah.
We play the game along with you, so sometimes we forget to ring the bell. We would like to remind you that if you are listening to this while driving in your car, don't play the G&D drinking game. And if you're planning on doing anything important tonight, like tell the woman you love that you want to be with her forever,
or leave her,
please listen responsibly.
First story tonight comes from our friends at Reuters. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. English King Henry I could be buried under a parking lot, researchers say.
My goodness, that was the same one I had open.
Yeah. Oh my God, you want to read this one? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You've already done
up next.
You've already done.
You go. I already closed it. Open another one.
If you insist. Here we go, Shadow Nation. London. Just 3 years ago, the extraordinary discovery of King Richard III. Under a car park, researchers think another medieval English monarch might be found buried beneath a parking lot and are hoping to find him. Philippe Langley, the inspiration behind the successful hunt for Richard III's remains, is now on the trail of his forebear, Henry I. Where's Henry VIII? I am. Henry VIII.
I am.
Yeah.
Henry VIII, I am.
He got married to the widow next door.
She'd been married 7 times before.
Oh! One of the first rulers of England following the Norman conquest in the 11th century. She is part of a team seeking seeking backing to search for the ruins of Reading Abbey, founded by Henry in 1121, and where he was buried after his death 14 years later, allegedly brought about by eating too many lampreys, a type of fish. Oh, don't eat lampreys, apparently. Like Richard, the exact whereabouts of Henry's final resting place is unknown, after the abbey, including his tomb, was mostly destroyed some 400 years later. The thinking in Reading, using current estimates of the size of the abbey, is that this burial spot is located beneath the school. Langling told BBC History magazine. If the abbey is larger, it can be situated underneath either what is today a playground or car park. The discovery of the body of Richard III, the last of the, Plantagenet dynasty, and the last, drink up, guys, and the last English king to die in battle in 1485 under a council car park in Leicestershire, drink up, guys, central England, is considered one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of recent British history. His body was reburied in Lancaster, drink up again, guys, Cathedral in March at a somber ceremony which attracted global interest. Well, all the best, girlfriend. I hope she does find Henry I.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
And we were there. No, we read it. No, never mind.
Yeah. Well, we broke the story
there you go.
3 months later after.
Hey, Sean.
Strange and weird. What?
This comes to us from the Huffington Post.
It does?
Imagine that.
Okay.
Airplane dropped poop on girl's birthday party.
Oh, I
Family
heard about this.
claim.
This is epic. This is epic. I couldn't believe it, man, when I heard this.
That's all right, you smelly buggers.
Yeah.
This gives new meaning to the term party pooper.
Yeah.
In Levittown, Pennsylvania, have a drink. In Levittown, Pennsylvania,
Too fast.
family says their daughter's sweet 16 birthday party was ruined when a passing airplane dropped human waste on the celebration Sunday evening.
Dookie!
Joe Cambre, the birthday girl's stepfather, said he was playing some horseshoes in the backyard when out of nowhere, something nasty rained down on the gathering, according to Fox 29 in Philadelphia.
Right.
Thankfully, the canopy... Oh, the canopy. I said it right.
No, you said canopy. Drink up,
Canopy.
guys. It's canopy.
Erected for the party, sheltered most of the guests.
Oh, my God.
Out of nowhere, the sky comes a bomb.
A Boeing bomb.
I was enjoying the story too much. Out of nowhere, from the sky comes a bunch of feces.
Oh.
Lands hard on the canopy. Cambray told the station.
Yeah.
We just gotten done with the cake. Thank God. Cambray's sister, Christina Rogi? Okay, have a drink. Said, because within 2 minutes, something fell from the sky. It was brown. It was everywhere. It got on everything.
It couldn't be
It
brown.
was gross.
The airplane uses the blue juice.
That's true. They do. They use blue juice. And maybe somebody was flying in a private plane and dumped something out.
Oh, man.
The family has filed a complaint.
You don't have the details?
Well, some details here.
Okay.
The family has filed a complaint with the Federal Aviation Administration after Rogi used a smartphone app to figure out there were 5 planes overhead at the time of the incident.
Okay.
She said the FAA told the TV station it will investigate the incident. Because, believe it or not, airborne waste problems are reported with some frequency. In 2012, a New York couple said they were splattered with airborne waste from an airplane that flew overhead. In 2013, a woman in England reported a frozen chunk, you can drink, of waste that had crashed through their roof.
Yeah.
And last year in New Zealand, a woman whose home was pelted with what she says was human waste from an airplane was the focus of the country's Civil Action Administration that tried to blame the mess on ducks. So there you go, Sean. You can throw the best party in the world. It can still be ruined from up above. That's not God crying, folks. That's God doing something else.
You can't say that.
I'm ready for sex.
Anyway, next story.
Those aren't the tears of angels.
Oh my God. Well, they could be the way the world's going right now. That gives a whole new meaning to a storm. I didn't complete it. I just said shh. Man declared dead starts moving, breathing while being readied for the morgue.
Aw.
Reuters. This comes
Reuters.
out. This comes out of Reuters. I always say Reuters. That's just the way I pronounce it. Reuters. All right, guys. First responders preparing to take the body of a Milwaukee man. You thought you had me there.
I thought I did.
Milwaukee man pronounced dead to the morgue. Got a jolt when the man suddenly began moving and noticeably breathing. Authorities said on Friday they had gone to the 46-year-old man's high-rise building on Tuesday after his worried girlfriend called for assistance, saying she had not heard from him for 2 days, according to the medical examiner. You got to give this guy space, baby. You know, 2 days.
He needed his 20 minutes.
Yeah, give him his 20 minutes. 2 days. Give the guy 2 days. You know, I don't know. When they arrived at his apartment, they found him cold, pale, and rigid at the door of his bed.
Sounds like my ex.
Oh! Mine too. She's dead to me. They did not try to resuscitate him. About 50 minutes later, the medical examiner arrived, put his golf clubs down. No, I'm kidding. And notified the man's family of his death. As the examiner readied his body to be taken to the morgue, the man began to move his left arm and right leg. Paramedics took the man, who has not been identified, to a nearby hospital where he was admitted to the intensive care unit. But that's all it says. It doesn't say he survived or anything like that.
Hey, Sean.
What?
Did you ever see the movie A Beautiful Mind?
No, what happened? I don't know, you told me.
What? It's a movie about one of our greatest code breakers in America, and a mathematical genius, John Nash.
Oh yeah, I've heard the name Nash.
Yeah, well, John Nash is dead.
Okay.
The beautiful mind mathematician was killed in a car accident.
Oh man.
Nobel, I bet he didn't see those calculations coming. Those statistics should have been screaming to him.
Easy.
No, that's my laughing at my own pain, because I love this man's work.
Right.
Nobel Prize winning mathematician John Nash was killed, this comes from the Huffington Post, in a car accident Saturday in New Jersey. New Jersey State Police told the Huffington Post.
Yeah.
The Princeton University scholar was 86 years old.
Okay.
His wife, Alyssa, was also killed in the crash.
Oh, man.
According to police, they were riding a taxi on the New Jersey Turnpike and were ejected from the vehicle. NewJersey.com reports.
How do you ride a taxi? Riding in a taxi?
No, it says riding a taxi. That Nash and his wife were not wearing their seatbelts. Nash was the subject of the Academy Award-winning film A Beautiful Mind. The film depicted his groundbreaking work in game theory, for which he won a Nobel Prize in economics and economics. Have a drink, folks. Economic Science in 1994. He also received the Abel Prize, one of mathematics' most prestigious honors, in March. A Beautiful Mind, which starred Russell Crowe, also depicted Nash's struggle with mental illness. Nash suffered from schizophrenia and later in his life became an advocate for the improvement of mental health. Stunned, my heart goes out to John and Alyssa's family. Crow tweeted on Saturday, an amazing partnership, beautiful minds, beautiful hearts.
There you go.
So, there you go. Genius dies in a car crash, and I make a joke about it. Shows you how dumb I am.
Well,
but,
that's how we grieve.
It's hard because I actually do respect this man greatly.
That's terrific. That's why we grieve. That's how we grieve. Some people use humor, huh?
I mean, I gave the toast at my best friend's death last year when my buddy Mark died, and I had to say a joke.
Well,
I had to, and I said I have to because Mark would rise up and kick my butt if I didn't say a joke at his funeral.
That would have been interesting. So.
We could have gotten video. We would have been back on TV.
We would have been on television. One more story for me, Demon Hunter, and this comes from our good friends, the Huffington Post. Weed K cups are now the best part of waking up.
Ooh.
Weed K. It's weed, then the letter K, cups. Are you ready for this?
Oh, no.
The best part of waking up. Stoners rejoice. Cannabis K-Cups are finally here to elevate your coffee cup, wake, and bake. Get it? While weed coffee isn't a new concept, a few innovators on the West Coast have started making weed-infused K-Cups. Yahoo Business reports one such coffee pod called Catapult retails for $10 each, or $37 for a pack of 6. It contains 10 milligrams of THC, the compound in marijuana that produces a high. Yeah.
Yeah.
There
you go. Have a drink.
Check this out. Uncle Ike's Pot Shop in Seattle, Washington sells Catapult, which has been on the market since February 2015. Manager Jennifer Lazardo, don't drink, told the Huffington Post via email that drinking the weed coffee combo seems to give a kick, I bet, from the caffeine. But it isn't a jittery feeling because of the THC. You get a nice energetic high, she added.
Oh.
Yeah. Recreational weed has only been legal in Washington State for just over a year. But it didn't take innovators long to get crafty. A new kind of soda drinkable, huh?
Very cool.
Called Legal. Well, that's straight to it. Premiered last June to much fanfare, although a planned cold brewed coffee version was stymied by the state's stymied. I'm sorry. Drink up, guys. It was stymied. I like that word, too, because it always reminds me of Little Rascals. Stymie. Anyway, you don't get it. By the state's refrigeration rules, packed with 22 milligrams of THC. The soda king gives drinkers a slight high. Yeah.
Oh.
Coffee and soda aside, the future of weed pairings also looks bright. Obviously, we will never have gummy bears or lollipops. The Liquor Control Board determined they appeal to children, but sodas, nuts, chocolates, cookies don't appeal.
When do cookies appeal?
I don't know. Lozenges. It's a funny word. Lozenges. It's funny.
Lozenges.
That's fun to say.
Have you been saying too many words wrong just so you can take a drink?
Especially if you were high. Lozenges. Pretzels, snack mitts, even THC pills are being sold and or developed. That's what they told Huffington Post. It is a very exciting time for this industry, and providing safe ways to ingest THC is a great alternative to smoking. I would have to agree, guys. Comes out of the Huffington Post.
Hey, Sean, I gotta read this last one because we've been waiting for this almost as long as we've been waiting for jetpacks.
Oh.
Superhero vision now possible through bionic lenses.
Oh, I seen that. Yeah.
Okay. The promise of superhuman vision has always seemed a little far-fetched, coming to us from the Huffington Post. Something us mortals have only ever experienced through the eyes of Clark Kent. At best, those of us who wear contact lenses or glasses hope for surgery-free breakthroughs that will give us 20/20 vision.
Right.
A Canadian ophthalmologist, Dr. Garth Webb, however, claims that he has produced a bionic lens that will give you 3 times better vision than 20/20.
Okay.
Step aside, Superman. Dr. Garth Webb from the British Columbia says the lenses, once fitted, would replace glasses and contacts while also keeping your eyes from developing cataracts.
Okay.
It's a result of natural aging process.
All right.
All it requires is an 8-minute surgery, which involves placing the lens on the eye and using a syringe containing saline and the bionic lenses.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Webb says if you just barely see a clock 10 feet away, when you get the bionic lens, you will be able to see it clearly 30 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
Webb is the CEO of OTC, the Ophthalmologist Technology Corp. Okay? Have a drink, folks. The company behind the invention, who say the lenses are made out of inherent substances that won't change the physiology of your eye.
Well, yeah.
So, there you go.
That is going to be knockout crazy. Of course, the insurance companies won't cover that. They'll say it's something cosmetic.
Yeah, I can't even get laser vision with my insurance company.
No, it's like 5,000.
That's why I have to wear these super thick glasses to read the screen 5 feet away from me.
I can't see. Yeah, that's hard. Anyway, that's harsh. Insurance companies. Insurance companies suck. Huh? They always talk about unions in America sucking. What about our insurance companies?
I tell you.
You know, the thing we had, so all serious note, guys, Indiana gets shelled with tornadoes every year. Not like Oklahoma, not like, all those states down there. But we do get our share of them. And in southern Indiana a couple years ago, I mean, these homes were destroyed. It just a path of destruction. And, everybody was smiling. They had these insurance companies that we won't name. You've seen their trucks all pretty, and they were out there in their finest little, work outfits promoting the insurance company. And they ran a story about 3 months later. All these smiling people that were getting food and coffee from the insurance company, yeah, their insurance dropped them. After they fixed up their house or whatever, they dropped them.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
What are you doing living in the Midwest there, Sean? Move out to the Northeast with us here and suffer through snowstorms every winter.
Yeah, well, I can't imagine. Your insurance cost monthly would probably be the price of a house payment, a mortgage.
Pretty darn close.
Out here in Indiana. Anyway, Demon Hunter.
Yes, GhostMan.
You hear the music. It's actually coming in pretty soft because I didn't want to blare it for you, but it's...
I appreciate that.
I'm going to lift it up while I'm giving the background noise.
What time is it?
You know what time it is. You hear the music, Shadow Nation, where each week, this special segment that we do called Legend X, where we comb the United States and the world over, and we try to bring you the greatest, latest in legends. From the Mothman to Bigfoot to werewolves to ghosts of lonely back roads who roam late at night. Covered bridges that are said to be haunted. Lakes.
I've heard that.
I could go on a long time. I was actually looking up an article about covered bridges. We'll have to check them out. Why are they haunted? The article was. I should have read it tonight. Anyway, guys, Legend X, we try to find out if there's any truth, facts, or just totally fiction to these legends. Tonight's Legend X is...
The Wampus Cat.
A Wampus! A Wampa Wampa!
The Wampus Cat.
That's fun to say. I don't care who you are. Wampus. That's
hey,
like the
Sean,
Krampus.
I've been looking up some information about this. By the way, the covered bridge thing is because it's an enclosed place over the waterway, and that provides the energy it needs for something to manifest up inside.
Yes, and I believe that derives from a great English belief where castles were surrounded by water that would entrap the souls of the dead.
There you go.
There you go.
That's why they had that drawbridge, so that people could get out.
See, folks, we're not just idiots on the air. We know something about something.
We're idiots everywhere.
Yeah. With a little bit of armed with enough knowledge to do damage.
Yes. Hey, Sean, the legend of the Wampus Cat is still told in the mountains of eastern Tennessee and western North Carolina.
Why?
A long time ago, it is said that a Cherokee woman spied on her husband and the men of the tribe as they were on a hunting trip and told sacred stories around the campfire that women weren't supposed to hear.
Dang woman.
She hid by wearing the skin of a wildcat, but was found by the tribesmen. Right. The tribe medicine man cursed her to always wear the skin of the cat, essentially turning her into a cat monster.
He said, "Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you?"
She was Mila Kunis. She was doomed to roam the mountains while wailing for her lost humanity.
Oh.
Those who wander the mountains at night are very likely to hear those screams. A few sightings of the Wampus Cat claim that the animal resembles a cougar, but walks upright with red, glowing eyes and fangs that put a cougars to shame.
Oh my God.
Hey, Sean, I've been looking around on this legend, and there are reports of the Wampus Cat. I've seen a few on YouTube, and people have even caught some video, and it looks like a wildcat with mange, if you ask me. But It's a legend. It's a legend.
Nathan,
and,
you're clearly being too skeptical here. It's clearly a photo of a half woman, half tiger or whatever, half mountain cat hybrid. I mean, my God.
There you go. But something we could do, because we like camping.
We do. We love it. We're so fixed. We're just made to sleep on the floor, the ground.
You know, it's funny. I have friends who are all interested in the paranormal.
Yeah.
And I took a few down to Louisiana a couple years ago, and I was like, oh, you know what? We're going to go out and hunt for the Montauk, or not the Montauk Monster, the Honey Island Swamp Monster. And they said, oh, that's cool. Where are we going to stay? I'm like, well, we're hunting for a monster in a swamp. We're going to go in tents. And they were like, oh, man, there's too many bugs.
Right.
I'm like, well, you know, hunting monsters isn't fun. They're like, well, if it's not fun, we're not going to do it. So,
yeah.
So much for that.
Well, we could go out there. We could go out there and check this out. But, you know, being a mythical beast and all, we don't know what they eat, you know? What are we supposed to put out? Like bonbons and some, you know, tabloid and soap opera? Maybe we just start talking and telling stories. Telling stories, dirty jokes. Oh, that's so wrong against the... We love Native Americans, guys. We love them.
I can't tell you. You and I both have Native American blood in us.
Yeah.
Does that allow us to make jokes? I don't know.
We have just enough to be able to make funny jokes, but not enough to own a casino.
There you go.
Imagine that. That's anyway, guys. That's Legend X, the Wampus.
The Wampus cat.
I like to say Wampus. You could say Wampus. What would stop us?
Wampus. Maybe if we make enough jokes like that out while we're camping, she'll just come out to kick our butts.
I don't know. The Wampus. Maybe she shaved her legs and got into a casino bracket. I don't know.
There you go.
Shave those legs. I did see something. Remember that old TV show that we kind of liked, the Masters of Horror? Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That was really good, right? It was on a couple years. Yeah, it had the
enjoyed
Edgar
that.
Allan Poe. They had one where it was a Native American legend, and every night this woman would go to this bar once a week or sometime a year, and she was beautiful. I mean, all the dudes checked her out, and she would take a man home, and they would mate, and then she'd kill him. She was a half deer or half chick. You remember that?
Half deer?
Yeah, half deer. She had like hoofs, and her bottom half was all deer, and her top half was gorgeous woman. And yeah, she basically would hoof beat their heads to death. I don't know.
I don't remember that one, but I'll have to check it out. I think I have the whole series on DVD.
She was tight like Tiger. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm going to steal that next time I'm over there. I've always wanted to see it. Demon Hunter, the hour is up on us, my friend.
That would be the hour when we're going to talk to someone special. Who would that someone special be, Sean?
Special tonight's guest. Since the spring of 1966, the Reed family UFO case has been one of the most studied and researched cases in American history. Recently, the Reed family case has yet again made history that will possibly change the world's outlook on the existence of UFOs and aliens. Mr. Thom Reed stops by tonight, guys. He's going to tell us the real story of what happened all those years ago and what's continued to happen over the years to himself, not just to himself, but his brother and his family. Tonight, Thom Reed stops by to tell all, guys. Stay tuned for that, huh?
Can't wait.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one, guys. You know, in the past, we've had Dr. David Jacobs, the ex-Ministry of Defense Nick Pope, some of the great ones we've had on. Stephen Bassett.
Stanton Friedman.
Yeah, absolutely. Stanton Friedman was amazing. Anyway, guys, each week we play an independent band we support, we love. This week's band, McCullough, name of the song, Grandmaster Blues. Shadow Nation, Demon Hunter.
GhostMan.
We'll be right back.
I've been far and I've been wide, baby. I even sailed to the 7 seas, but I ain't never seen that something. That's your eyes staring at me. Pack up my suitcase, head on down the road, and maybe when I come back by then, my love might have even sold. I said, I don't and the truth will set you free. Oh, maybe pain and sorrow, there's no tomorrow. Will take a hold of me, baby, baby, baby. I'm all alone, baby. Won't you come along and hold me? I ain't the seventh son, but I know where I'm from. It's head on, dead on, dead on down the highway. And maybe when we come back, by then you will have seen things my way. I don't want no skinny woman. A woman who's got no sense of style. I want a girl with a diamond ring on her finger. One who knows how to say nothing. I just can't find this girl nowhere. Until I do, I'ma stay alone.
This is William B. Davis, the actor from The X-Files at Continuum. My autobiography is Where There's Smoke, and you're listening to Ghostman and the Demon Hunter Show.
Hey, welcome back, Shadow Nation, to the one, the only mystifying Oracle Radio, your Ghostman and Demon Hunter show. Since the spring of 1966, the Reed family UFO case has been one of the most studied and researched cases in American history. Since childhood, he has been no stranger to the UFO mysteries. While non-believers try to find ways to discredit UFO activity, and believers look to the night sky in wonder of what could be, tonight's guest has lived it. He no longer asks, what if, but rather accepts the facts and truth that we are not alone in the universe. Please help us welcome Mr. Thom Reed to studio. Thom, what's up, brother?
Hey, Nathan. Thanks for having me, man.
No problem, bro. This is Sean. Nathan's on the line with you. You know my sexy voice. How can you mess that up?
All right, either way.
Hey,
How you
man.
doing, guys?
Yeah, we're interchangeable.
We're doing great, man. I mean, we got you on the show. You got some big stuff happening today. Or I'm sorry, here lately. With the history and the case that you've had. I mean, where do we jump into here? Where would you like to go first with this interview?
Well, to be honest with you, I think maybe backwards. Recently, and as you know, this was a case that really was really making news back in the 60s, so it's been a long time, but not many, outside of you guys, but how we got in touch was over this thing with my brother in Indianapolis, which just kind of came out of nowhere too, 30, 40 years later, and
Right.
and kind of refueled everything, and then now it's been formally inducted, and it's was cover of the Boston Globe. I mean, the Historical Society in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, where this took place back in the 60s, has officially and formally inducted it as the very first factual UFO case in the United States to be deemed truthful and real. And so I'm proud to be part of that, because it's for those who keep trying to grasp onto something and saying, why is all this stuff that I'm looking at, kind of falling apart or not making sense, or, holes in this and it's being shot down and all these debunkers and everything. This is a real phenomenon, and what we experienced really truthfully happened. I mean, it does get some color. I'm not going to deny that. The TV shows, have their fun with it.
Right.
But the roots of it and the facts and what really took place, you know, it's it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, to give you an idea, our case had radiation readings, magnetic fields. We've passed polygraph tests. It was mentioned at the United Nations in 1992 by our legally retained attorney, Robert Bletchman. There was an officer that investigated it, detective. It went out on WSBS radio in September of 1969, actually, during the years of Project Blue Book. So there are witnesses. Our restaurant became like the spot where everyone would get together and meet and talk about it. And of course, kind of divided the town back then. My mom was single, so she used to get a lot of, you can imagine. But
Single mom in the 1960s? I
Yeah,
can't imagine how that would cause some problems.
looking too, according to what we.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, she was 28, 29, and she had an 80-acre horse farm, and she had the convertible Mustang, and we had a restaurant, and so yeah, she endured a lot in that town. But it's nice to know that now that area has really embraced it, and to be in two museums now. I mean, where our case also has a full-blown display in the Roswell UFO Museum, and
Yes.
and there's going to be an identical, almost identical, working display in the Historical Society in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. So, it's I think it's a case I encourage people to look into. I mean, there's a lot here, and as far as what I think there are really three days that stand out when you look at this. There was what happened with my brother in Indianapolis, which was the cover of the Indianapolis Monthly Magazine. Matt Reed is Alienated, which I think you're aware of.
Yeah.
Which was part of that Kokomo boom wave that he got involved in, and I think that's where a lot of the past in our case, kind of got stirred up, and people started looking into it.
Right.
And then, of course, 1967, and in Great Barrington or Sheffield, their neighboring towns, and in 1969. So, I guess 1967 is the time that really, I guess, Alien Mysteries spent a lot of time on that particular incident, and to get into that, my brother and I were in this. It was 1554 Boardman Street is the address of the house it happened in, and we were in our bedrooms. We had bunk beds, and he was on a top bunk, and there was a weird vibe. A lot of people talk about orbs and this type of thing, and we did see, and we don't talk about this a lot on other shows, but we'll mention it on yours. There was this weird orb thing that was in our room. It was probably the size of a small, like under a cup, where you have that little sauce, put your cup in, like
Sure.
a tiny plate,
Yeah.
It was that big, and it was off to the right side of our room, off to the right side of the window, and it did look like it moved. It kind of faded in, faded out. My brother and I were looking at it. It almost looked like it had something moving in it, like moving, rotating. You're looking at it as a child. You're trying to, is that a face? What is that we're looking at? We felt like we were being watched. It was really creepy. And then it would kind of go out, and you wouldn't see it. And this was not with a camera. We could see this with our eyes.
Right.
And then it looked like it faded out, and then it would. I'm assuming it was the same one. It would kind of pop out somewhere else. So we didn't know if we were seeing multiple, whatever this was at the time, because I didn't know what to reference it as or how to categorize it. But that was the first thing, and then and then there was what looked like a ring, like a hula hoop.
Now, Tom, I got to stop you. I got to ask you, brother, because this case is always fascinating me, and I want to get all these facts right for our listeners and for me.
Yeah.
These lights that you and your brother, Matthew, started seeing in your room at night, was that like the first phase? Was that what happened for like a year or a couple months?
But there were only 3 events over a 5-year period. So people blow this all out of proportion. 50 years of this. No, it was 3 events over 5 years.
Right.
And the very first one was 1966, was the year before. But there really isn't much with only so much time on your radio. There's not much to talk about on that one. But 67 was when our whole family first really had our first event as a unit, as a family.
Right.
And it was this night, and I mention this one because everyone in our family was very, very involved in it. And in '66, it was just my brother and I, and that's where we saw this path and where we saw this craft for the very first time, which looked like a turtle shell. And we had a similar experience in '67, except it was very different to us, in a lot of ways, because there was a lot that hit us before it happened. This vibe in the room, this light that looked like a hula hoop outside the window. And I think it was because when this happened, there was almost like a low frequency ELF, like an electromagnetic field of some sort. If you've been out like full moon, you have more energy. You can get up and go. You can stay out. You can have that extra drink with your friends.
Atmosphere felt charged. Yeah, I got it.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what it was like. But at the same time, there was no reason for it because we're sitting here in our bed, and then we were like really awake and really alive, and at the same time, it was you could hear a pin drop. It was dead silent, and it just your body picked up on something that just was not of the norm.
Right.
And that's when we saw this what looked like a hole in the room, like in the air, like what looked like this orb type of thing that we saw. And I don't really know if it was an orb. It's the only reference I have for it.
Yeah.
But then we saw this ring, like I mentioned earlier, like outside the bedroom window, which was at the foot of the bed. There was a radiator there, and we left the window open because we had a brook and everything in the back, and it was just nice to listen to. And this particular night, my mom came in and shut it because she saw flashes of light also from the other side of the house, and she thought there was going to be a storm. So maybe that's why it brought our attention to the window, because we saw it through the window, and it might have been maybe 30, 40 yards away, and there was nothing back there. There was like the brook, some trees, and there was nothing.
Right.
I mean, there was no house back there, nothing. And it was clear as day, and it looked like a bluish ring with white around it, and the best that I can remember, like a hula hoop. It wasn't like filled in like a light, and it had my attention, and I was looking at it, and I couldn't really see it the best from where I was because of the way the bunk beds were lined up. So I put my head off to the side, and I was looking in between the ladder that went to the top bunk, and hanging off the side of the bed really. And the next thing I know, I feel like I'm standing up, and then I felt like I was inverted off to the right, and I felt like I got hit with like an ocean wave. I was engulfed in this like whitewash or like what looked like packets, like when you mail something, you have those little air packets that you put in a box and whatever to wrap stuff in so it doesn't break. If it was white, almost like packets in it, and I flipped, and I felt like my feet were straight up in the air, and then that was it. That's what I remember from the room. Now, our brother says that he remembers something that looked like something fired, like a light fired into the room. And so he ran down the little steps there, ran into my mother's room to get her, and she would not respond. She wouldn't wake up. And we had a grandmother, Marion, was staying with us at the time, and bunking in my mother's room because we had another relative visiting from New York who had taken over the other bedroom. So there were two in the master, my grandmother and my mother, and he couldn't wake either one of them up. Neither one would respond. And then after, I don't know how long it was, a long time ago, but they finally came to, if that's the word for it.
Yeah.
And they were walking across my brother's like, Tom's gone. And he was walking across the top of the staircase there, and that sounded like, according to them, like a bunch of doors slamming, like boom, boom, boom.
Right.
And almost simultaneously, but just off. And I don't know. She said after that, she couldn't find Matthew, and so she saddled up her horse and went looking around the property, thinking, what else is she going to do? My grandmother looked around the house. We had floodlights around the home. We put those on. We put floodlights around the stable. There's actually a telephone pole on our property, so there was a phone out there and everything. And my mother couldn't find us, and so what I remember from that is I remember being in this hallway that wound somewhat like a question mark, and my brother was almost like brought to me. I remember I was in this this hallway kind of wound like a question mark. At the very top, it broke into what looked like another room, which was very dark, and I don't remember like light bleeding or anything, but I remember standing in this area, and I don't know if I was cooperating or not. I don't know what was going on, but I remember I was looking for Matthew, and I think in '66 when this first happened with the two of us, there was I don't know, like a comfort or something that came from, my brother, being there with me, I guess. And this particular time, I remember like being very frightened, and and so maybe he was brought to me to comfort me. I can't imagine. I don't know, but it was very odd that I was in a weird state of mind, and a lot of the time too, what would happen is you'd become very engaged and part of whatever this was, almost like your mind might have been being stimulated by ELF frequency because there were magnetic fields around the vehicle that were documented. So I've been looking into some of the wonderful work Harp was doing,
Yeah.
and so there is some truth to how that affects the body, and so I'm guessing really that was part of what we experienced. That ELF, that low frequency ELF, that might have stimulated the neurons in the brain, caused us to be really flat and engaged and cooperative, and then maybe it wears off, and I was in a panic and looking for Matthew and thinking he was with me because the last time I was in that same spot, he was with me, and maybe being confused, combative or something, and so there he was, and but the thing about Matthew too is he had a club foot, he had a brace on his leg,
Okay.
and so he kind of remembers some attention being put to that leg of his, and anyway, we there were some weird things going on there. We remember images. We remember what looked like very much human in some respect, but not. And we came back. We were back in that same night. Hour or two later, we don't know exactly. Matt was in the driveway, and I was on a little bit of a hill near the stable that kind of rose. Was in a little bit of a. I was how much higher than him, and I was looking at him. I can still see him today. Picturing this, him standing in a driveway, and I'm staring at him, and he's staring at me, and I remember him, vividly. Yet my mother said we were placid and not responding or anything, but we both remember that moment.
All right.
And so she brought us back into the she got off the horse, actually ran up to us, and Alien Mysteries did a pretty good reenactment.
That's a great episode.
Had my brother first, brought us to the kitchen table, gave us orange juice. She said she gave us some, baby aspirin and stuff. And I remember we spent the night in the living room. I spent the night on the sofa, my brother on the love seat, and she made a fire, and that was really it for what happened in '67. But it was very hard on us because it involved the whole family, and everyone pretty much knew at that point that something really odd was going on, and so my mother would mention it at the restaurant. She would go in and it was kind of a hangout for the local town, and of course I don't think she got the support
Right.
that she had hoped for. Yeah.
Small town.
Yeah, it was a really small town. We didn't even have a middle school.
Did it feel like when you came out, and Nathan, I think we should go ahead and do the by year, 66 question, 67, the year, and try to.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
so I just want to lead off, Thom, with when you came through and you seen your brother and you were standing on the hill and he was down on the road, did you feel groggy, like coming out of sedation or anything like that? Or was it just bang, there I am?
Well, he was in the driveway and I was on the hill, but no, it was. I remember we were kind of like our eyes were locked on each other, and we were standing facing each other, which is odd too because the house was off to our right, but we were facing one another, maybe 15 feet apart, and we weren't saying anything. I don't remember looking away. I just remember kind of being locked on him.
Yeah.
And him locked on me, and we both remember that moment because of that. But when we were taken into the house, Matthew was actually playing with a Coca-Cola bottle top, the tin bottle top, and he wouldn't stop playing with it. My mother was, come on, Matthew, and trying to. She was wiping us down with towels too, and that sort of thing, and water, and he just wouldn't leave the top alone, and so we were in a weird state. We were not ourselves by any means, and my grandmother was paying attention to me, really, and my mother was worried more about my brother. But no, we were not ourselves. But what I think is odd is that we recall the seeing each other. We recall everything, but our bodies were not responding, if that helps. We weren't physically acting ourselves, but our minds were okay, if that makes if that helps.
Perfect sense.
Yeah.
Now, you say that, you came back and all this stuff. When you and your brothers talk about this, do the stories line up? Is there any way that, like, at some point you might have been alone and they put something in your head to make you, because you say there was all this EMF, there
No,
was all this stuff.
we're pretty. Of course, we have differences on certain things, but it all adds up to the same thing. It's kind of like if there was an explosion at the local mall and you were at J.C. Penney and I was at the food court. I mean, I remember certain things and you would remember certain things, but we were still there when it happened. No, as far as my mother found us both at the same spot. We both remember bits and pieces of what happened that night, and so no, we've had a long time to talk about this. We grew up with this. We've kind of talked about it all our lives. It gets kind of old after a while, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's but we all remember things. We drew things. We sketched things. I had made sketches when I was I don't know 9, 10 years old that hung in our fourth grade classroom, and one of those sketches actually hangs in Roswell today.
That's the black and white, correct?
Yeah, that's the black and white one with the willow tree, and that was and something else that's interesting. The people that actually owned. Now, this is the other thing. 69, the one that actually went out on the radio and everything that got all the attention, if you will, that actually didn't even happen on our property. That actually happened down the road from our house over the Sheffield Bridge, which is owned by Pine Island Farms.
And that was the one with your family in the vehicle, right? Grandma, mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
That actually is owned by a family who owns 1,600 acres in that area. So when I tell people, oh, we owned 80 acres, they're like, oh my God, no, that was nothing back then. And these people are still having something, they're seeing markings and in that sort of thing is what I hear. But they actually owned both sides of this road. And I actually went up about a month ago and met with them for the very first time because we're doing a documentary and WSBS Radio was going to be part of it as well. And met them for the first time. And interesting that they and a lot of other people still talk about it and remember it and have given statements to the Historical Society. So it's still very much on people's minds up there. If you were to drive through Sheffield and talk about it, or even stop in the city hall or the post office and mention it, they'll talk to you about it. It's that much in people's, up front with people. They still talk about it like it happened yesterday. It's very weird.
Well, Tom, I got to bring it up. We had the honor of having from Temple University, Dr. David Jacobs. You know him. And he speaks about the alien-human hybrids. And now I asked him over and over, how does somebody know when they've been abducted? Because, you've been driving down the road before, listening to, something, and you're like, holy cow, I missed the last 2 turns that I've done 100 times. I was supposed to turn left on that street.
Right.
And just feel, like you're out of time. He assured me that these things run in the family. If you have been abducted somewhere in your history of your family, that it's followed your ancestors around, somebody, your grandma, your great-grandmother, stuff like that. What do you think about that? Is it the Reed family's been marked by...
Well, there's 2 ways to look at this. I'm going to give you 2 different scenarios. One, Sheffield, Massachusetts, 50 miles away, you've got Pratt & Whitney, you have Sikorsky Aircraft, you have Command Aerospace, you've got Electric Boat. You have an awful lot of military manufacturing facilities, and Sheffield, Massachusetts, at its highest peak, is one of the highest outside of Beckett for 1,700 miles of road, and there's nothing there, and yet you're only an hour outside New York City. So if you were to have Minutemen missile sites and Nike missile sites, which are supposedly all over the hills anyway, that would be an ideal spot to do that because of all the manufacturing plants and facilities around the area. So a lot of people think that there's a lot of military involved in that. Now, to finish this thought, we are all Rh negative, which is another thing that a lot of people put a lot of stock into and have an interest in, and the fact that our family, well, you are Rh negative and we're O negative, which is the only blood type tracked by the U.S. government from birth, because back in the 60s, it was the universal donor for Vietnam. So a lot of people seem to think, well, wow, you had O negative blood, it was tracked by the government, you're surrounded by military manufacturing facilities, and you're in a rural area, so maybe they were experimenting on a craft and your family got involved in it. That is a possibility. Now, if you go to the other side of the fence, my mother remembers her first experience in Maine at Moosehead Lake back in 1954. when her and my Uncle Bob and Bob's girlfriend at the time were in a cabin. And she remembered something happening to her at night where she felt like she was like a mannequin, couldn't move, yet she could move her hands and feet like she was confined to the inside of a mannequin, but she could think and saw lights and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where, she really believes that she had her first experience as a 15-year-old in 1954. Now, my grandmother was involved in our incident in 1969, and so there is a family element to it. Now, with that said, yes, my mother remembers something in 54. We remember something in the 60s. And if you look at my son, now my son tested in the gifted program or superior, way off the charts. He was a matter of fact, I got something here in writing right in front of me. He was tested at the Miami Children's Hospital. He was tested in Tennessee. He was tested with his school. He was tested with the KABC Kaufman Achievement testing. And I'm going to read something to you. It says the boy normally achieves more than twice the national standard of coincidental accuracy when selecting numbers. He routinely sorry,
Wow.
exceeds a much higher or greater than chance ratio when tested for coordinate, outbound, and beacon categories of remote viewing. So he has tested higher than coincidental chance repeatedly. So if there is anything that we can say is linked to the family, I'm going to jump back to Matthew in Indianapolis, because when this happened with that Kokomo boom wave or whatever that was
It
in
was in
Avon or
Brownsburg, I believe, 1983, right?
yeah, well, I'm sorry?
It was 1990s, early 90s, mid 90s.
No, this was 2000, 2009,
Yes.
2010.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Right
you're
in
right.
there. March 30th and 2009, I think it was. And or 2010, I don't know which, but
Yeah.
it was an incident with the Kokomo boom thing.
Yeah.
And anyway, at the time that happened, his son was turning the same age he was. And if you go back to the house where this
Oh.
happened with us in the 60s, and this is going to blow your mind because I'm into numbers. When my mother first had this happen in Maine, she was 15 in 1954. Our house just happens to be 1554 Boardman Street. And isn't that weird?
That's
And the
crazy.
people who live in there now that bought it after the family we sold it to, they have two daughters, and their two daughters are the same names of the people who originally bought that house.
Wow. It's like an experiment in that
It's really
area.
friggin' weird. Yeah, and I try not to say too much about that because,
Right.
I try to keep this really reeled in. But when you look at the odd things, there are also a lot of magnetic. Here's another thing. Remember I told you how we had magnetic, I
Sure,
think there's a
yeah.
magnetic field around your head and all this kind of, and what was around the vehicle? Well, the farm that has the 1,600 acres back there, they also generate power for 10,000 homes, and that generator goes down all the time. So there's definitely something with electromagnetic frequency because it cuts out their system too. Some of the meters on the homes were known to be running at an odd rate, which wasn't giving the correct reading for the amount of electricity the home was using. And that goes way back, to the 60s and 70s too. So there's definitely something going on up there. And like I said, it wasn't isolated to us.
Well, that's so
Now, what
amazing, Tom, because
yeah, yeah, I know. And the night that the 1969 thing happened, before I run out of time, I was actually at Butternut Basin, which is a ski resort that had horseback riding in the summers, and I was in a 4-H club at the time, and so they put me on this horse, which was way too big for me, way too fast, and they didn't tighten up the saddle enough, and I take this horse out in this competition, too big, loose saddle, going too fast. It was almost like a comedy scene. I was on,
I've been there, yes.
and it was horrible. And so I was given a brown ribbon, which really bothered me because I usually did better than that. And yeah, I was pretty sad about. I was pretty pissed off, and disappointed. Girls I went to school with were all getting blues and red ribbons, and like Tom got a brown one. I was going to make it for a tough week as it was, right? So my mother takes me out to a place called the Meadows Restaurant, which was one of the few places open. It was Labor Day actually, and my grandmother again was with us, and so we went out, sat in a bench out back, had our lunch, and we were going back to the restaurant that my mother owned, and our grandmother ran it really, and to make the night deposit drop because the cooks were running the place. And my grandmother was with us because it was Labor Day, so we were all together as a family. And and so she went to check it up, lock it up, and make the night drop. And we were heading back to over the Sheffield Bridge, and which wasn't far from town, maybe I don't know, 2.5 miles.
Yeah.
And as soon as we got over the bridge, it was an enclosed wood bridge, and there were trees off to the left, and again fields. There's really nothing out there, and sure enough, my grandmother turned around and noticed lights off the back, and I'd been, my brother and I were having candies in the back, and she was concerned about the possibility I was choking or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but that's why she turned around in the station wagon, and sure enough, all these lights, and I remember the lights off to the left that just filled the woods there. And for some reason, I happened to notice a glow. Maybe it's because I was looking at my brother on the right side of the back seat, so I could see like a glow, or like an orangey or amber glow out to the right. And I had my eye on that. And if you were to be there today, I mean, it's patchy, swampy, marshy. The Housatonic River runs through there, and it filters out, and you have a lot of willow trees, and it's just, just kind of weird in itself, and very marshy. And sure enough, the car came to a stall off to the right side of the road. We heard stones, I guess, hitting the car, because it was so quiet. I guess we were in tune with that. And just wondering, like, what's happening, because we weren't novice to this now. We knew something was happening. And, and sure enough, we just stopped, and it was just like dead. Again, it was like what it was in our room, where it was just like this dead calm, like no feeling, there's no life. It was just like almost surreal and just odd and very chilled, just kind of, you knew. And bang, this eruption of crickets and katydids and frogs, and it's just loud as could be, and boom, we're no longer in a car anymore. And I remember being in what looked like a hangar, almost like being in an airport hangar, at night, maybe with no planes in it. It was that kind of a feeling, just big and empty. And that's I was taking out a door of some kind, and it was in front of me. If the hangar I was in was a football field, I would have been like on a 3 to 5 yard line. I was right next to a wall, and there were carts in there that reminded me of the carts I would have in school with you put a projector on or something.
Right, yeah.
And I was taking out a door. I was taking down this long hallway and back into a room where this thing came out of the ceiling and covered me, and it was like a cage, and there were like these things laid on my body that resembled raisin packs, big raisin packs of some type, or like a huge raisin, and they were like adhered to my skin. And one went over my face, and I felt a bump to the head, and I saw what looked like an ant on 2 feet. It was really odd. It had like a football typed head. It was very stick-like limbs and legs, if you will, like almost bamboo.
Yeah.
And reminded me of an ant. And
So
I
this
don't know.
was a different
I
time.
don't know what I got caught up in. If there's a hybrid type of thing, there's definitely some testing with DNA and a lab of some sort, and designer beings. And I believe that. I believe that what I saw was a manufactured designer type of being.
Really?
Now I go back to the fact that we've had 7 extinctions on this planet,
Yeah.
and we've got almost 100 million different species running around today, which means they would have had to been in couples. It would have had to been very well planned out, or we couldn't have this amount of life that we have here today. And so many diverse animals running around, and species,
Sure.
and chameleons able to change color, and dolphins able to communicate, and sharks smell blood from miles away. I mean, if you could take and tweak all these little abilities from these different species of animals, and you were to bring them into a lab and manufacture whatever you want to perform a particular task, which I wouldn't be a bit surprised if our government's not doing that right now, or at least trying to. You would need a universal platform. And if you've got a universal bloodline like O negative, that's a universal donor,
Yeah.
then there's your platform, because now you know that it's not going to conflict with anything else that you decide to play with or add to that, or DNA that you want to tweak. And so that's kind of what I think this is about. And I think we got caught up in the middle of it. And I think because we were so isolated, and we were RH negative, we were a perfect specimen or family for whatever this was. And we are not alone. there are a lot of things people don't want to accept, spirits and wormholes and other life forms. I mean, if you really believe we're the only ones and everything's in black and white, you really need a wake-up call. There is a lot going on out there that, so many people make fun of or roll the eyes at, but you know what? We're the ones that are going to be laughing later on, that this is a true phenomenon. And what happened to us wasn't isolated. I mean, there are a lot of cases and people I talk to that have true life experiences, and they just don't want to talk about it because as a society, I don't think we're really ready yet. But the landmark that we made in Great Barrington and being on the cover of the Boston Globe, the cover of the Washington Times, and being the first case inducted as a true UFO case in the United States, and being in 2 museums, we have made a mark. We have something that other people that have experiences can build on. I don't look at this as something that, we can say, okay, we did this. No, we contributed to history. And now I think we are looking for support, just like everybody else, to say, well, this happened to me too. And, it just takes that one person to get up and dance, right?
Well, this is world-changing, Thom, because, and you know this all too well, within 3 months ago, the Rendlesham Forest incident, where the military came forward and picked up finally paid the gentlemen that are friends of yours what they...
Yeah, John Burroughs, a good friend of mine. Right.
Yeah, they actually paid for their medical expenses.
Right. Well, there you go. We at the International UFO Congress in Arizona, he had just had that happen for him, and that recognition, if you will. And we just had been, in February also, been inducted. So we both had monumental moments, if you will, around the same time. And like you said, there are things changing now, and I'm honored to be part of it. I think it's a nice way to pay forward the passing of my father, who, by the way, if your listeners don't know, was killed on the same day that our case was mentioned at the United Nations, October 2nd. It was 14 years later, but he lost his life under very questionable circumstances, to say the least. And the building that he was in has been shut down and condemned to this day, which has been over 10 years now. And so there's, I guess that's for another lunch. You can have me back on for that one.
Oh my God, man, we got to have you back on.
Yeah. You just, let's end on that and leave everybody in suspense. Sure.
Well, I was going to ask about those unsolved mysteries around these deaths. I mean, in the past, we've covered Phil Snyder, people like that have researched, said they had information coming forward. I mean, bang, 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 bang. These people mysteriously disappear all the time. Now we're talking about the Reed family case, and not just your father, but others had mysterious things.
Well, to give you a little timeline, my father was getting ready to retire. He was only 56, but he was getting ready to, plan his retirement at 60. And he wanted to write a book. And he always said to us, when the time is right, guys, we'll put something together. Because out of, again, there's so much I could tell you. A lot of people probably don't know that he was, he ran for office, and he was in office for 2 terms. He was supported by Senator Christopher Dodd, who had also been to our home for barbecues. He was a friend of my father's. And, I've had coffee at Governor Weiker's and when my father was in office. And so he was very, very political in the way that he wanted to make changes for the right things. And now this wasn't Massachusetts, this was Connecticut. And so I helped him run his campaign, actually. And so he did. He was in office, but he was only, the selectman role, but he did make it to local office. But it wasn't so much the position he had, it was the fact that he met so many people and had an interest in this topic. And there were a lot of those that he ran into that were willing to share what they knew or give him, a phone number or a contact to talk. Well, this person may be able to shed some light on it, which the person that became a better friend of his that I knew very well also was Robert Bletchman, who was an attorney in Manchester, Connecticut, whose law firm was right down the road from where I had my condo. And so I would meet with him, and unknown to us at the time, really, that he used to actually work with J. Allen Hynek. And being that our case was given a Hynek classification way back when, he took an interest in that. And and I used to get out of work early on Friday, so I'd swing by his office on Friday. So we would talk probably more so than we would have if the circumstances didn't line up like that. But so anyway, he asked if he could mention our case because he had something big coming up, and we really didn't know what it was until the 11th hour. And sure enough, it was at the United Nations on October 2nd, 1992.
Amazing.
And he wanted to mention our case or my father's credentials being associated with the case, that they weren't all nut jobs, in support of Cash and Landerman and a few others, in support of 33426, which was an idea of a bill or a unified organization or a go-to for everyone to filter their any regarding this topic, filter your information to, and then be able to pull on it and share and that kind of thing. And it was a little before SETI was to launch a new microwavable technology, and after the Star Wars era, so it was a good time to get this topic looked at again. And ours did go in support of Cash Landerman, mostly because of the electromagnetic field, or what we thought or assumed was at the time, and how it affected the wildlife and that sort of thing. Because Cash Landerman had melted stuff on her car, that kind of thing. So it was a light mention on the back end. But my father got all these forms and papers stamped, October 5th, October 7th, with red ink,
Right.
and about letters from the Greece Ministry of Defense and the Pentagon, and F-4 jets unable to fire on UFOs, if you will, and how UFOs, for lack of a better term, are as much of a threat to us as we are to them. And this is in black and white. And so my father assured us that, hey, listen, don't say too much. I'm running for office. Our family doesn't need this anymore. When the time is right, maybe we'll write a book. And so I started talking about this. I started mentioning this a lot, and this is when I was in Florida, and I owned a modeling agency in South Beach. So I would travel back and forth from Palm Beach to South Beach on a daily basis, every day. And I started meeting up with a couple of these, MUFON chapters, if you will, and started talking about, this possible book with my father. And I went to met with Tim Wilson over in Fort Myers, who knew Debbie Cobble when that was happening with Hopkins. So I started to talk about this a lot in this upcoming book. Well, I'm on my way to work one day after this, and I'm coming off the same exit that I always do, and I'm parked in my car, and I see a tractor trailer truck barreling down the road, and it just takes out my vehicle. It takes out my car with me in it. I'm left for dead. I had over 9 surgeries. I was a mess. And so my father comes down to Florida and sits next to me in my bedroom there, and I couldn't go anywhere. I was walking to the bathroom, holding on to a chair and a mop. I mean, I was a mess. And I didn't think I was going to make it. And so my father at that point, well, why don't we start the book? Because what else was I going to do, right?
Right.
So I couldn't work anymore, and at the time anyway. And so we started to talk more and more about it. And sure enough, we started a book outline, and my father started to talk about it in Connecticut, and mentioned it at his local pub, and so he goes to work. This is like I got almost killed in December. This was October, about 8 months later, give or take, I guess. And so he goes to work, and his head basically hits the table. He's rushed to Yale New Haven Hospital, and we lost him. And it just happens to be the same day that our case went to the UN. Now, we've had it made the New York Times, but some people wrote and said, oh, maybe, it was Legionnaire's disease around there or something. No, it wasn't.
Right.
His medical records show that he had a fungus in his blood. So, like a viral fungus. I don't know how that is exactly, but I've got the medical records. I've had other doctors look at it. And so when he was rushed to the hospital, burning up from this fungus taking over his blood, they gave him antibiotics. And when they gave him the antibiotics, his temperature went up, not down. So they gave him a different antibiotic. So by giving him all these antibiotics, they killed the good bacteria that would fight the fungus. So the fungus took over and it put him in cardiac shock, and he died. So some people have said, well, if you wanted to mask something and have someone basically killed for you, you give them something that they would treat as misdiagnose, and then give the wrong medication, and he would die in a hospital.
That's true.
Of all the days for Dr. House not to be on the job.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened with my father. And then, of course, the Robert Blechman who actually mentioned our case, our retained attorney, our friend who took our case or mentioned it at the UN. And I say the UN, it didn't go before the General Assembly. It was mentioned in different rooms within the UN.
Right.
But he died
Oh.
shortly after my father. And then Michael Buckner, a doctor who looked at, basically was, again, just one of our doctors who actually was the one who actually tested my son for remote viewing and was actually had written an article and gave out his medical statement, if you will, about my son's abilities, and he was going to actually talk at a MUFON conference. Never made it because when we went back to call him, we found out he was no longer with us. So he wrote this report on my son after evaluating my brother and myself too on September 15th, 2010. And he was found dead on November 12th, 2010, 8 weeks later.
Sounds like somebody's
And-
cleaning house, or was, tying up loose ends.
You know, a lot of people say, well, if you look for something, you're going to find it. Well,
Right.
you know, denial is a dangerous game, too. And I, for the longest time, thought, okay, well, all right, well, what happened to me? I was wrong place at the wrong time. But the tractor-trailer truck that hit me never stopped. Palm Beach County Sheriff's Department found it about 4 miles down the road in Boca. My father's death on the same day is odd in itself. The fact they shut down the building and the CDC was called in is very weird. Robert Blechman, who took our case to the UN, passes, 8 months after my father?
Mm-hmm.
And then the doctor. Now, there's only one common denominator between these people. That doesn't mean there aren't, coincidental things that happen. But I think 1, 2, but 4, and I don't know. And just the way it happened and the timing and the numbers. And so if you look at it that way, yeah, it certainly looks like there was some influence. I had somebody come here to my home who was from Key Point Government Solutions and sit me down on my front steps of my house and start asking me if I travel internationally, all these questions about me and my family. I mean, I've had some strange things happen, and I got to ask, my son and other friends, and this stuff doesn't happen to so-and-so down the road or my friends or my cousins. And so there is something going on. So I think that, we've gotten a lot of attention in mainstream, and I don't think it's welcomed.
Right. Well, I know we're running short on time, Nathan. Whatever questions you got for Thom, let's call this interview 1, Thom, because brother, I know your busy schedule, but soon as this case, which has already changed history, but once it goes worldwide and changes world history,
let's give it before we go, Sean. Let's give a quick explanation on why this case has changed history.
Well, yeah, we've covered that. It's actually been documented now and brought into the United States Historical Society. In Massachusetts, right?
Yeah, it's now it has now been deemed a true significant history and factual.
Local UFO sighting historically significant and true. That's huge, man.
Pretty. And I'm glad to be part of that because, like I said, if nothing else, I mean, it's kind of a tribute for everything we've been through, and for that, I'm happy with it.
Well, Thom,
anybody can find more information about you at www.tomreed.info. That's TOMREED.info. Right?
Yes, that's true.
Thom,
TomReed.info. Yep.
I'm going to ask you one last thing, and then stay on the line. We're going to close out the show real quick. Are you ever fearful? Because these are kind of terrifying events that have happened throughout your past. Like your brother in the 2009 here in Indiana, in Brownsburg. He had the mysterious alien involvement thing. Are you ever fearful for yourself or your son to see if this kind of thing will disrupt your life again?
We have had, again, a lot of strange influence already, and it doesn't seem to be stopping. So do I think that I have the same concerns that maybe my late father did? Or probably not, because I think we're in, times are changing now, and I think we're a little more aware, and this case has pretty much been out in the open for a while now. But I have had some strange things happen. Yeah, I've had 2 credit cards canceled per my request. I never cancel my credit cards. So I think now there's other ways to get to people. We have had, like I was... my house has been broken into, and I live in an area where that really shouldn't be happening.
Right.
It's strange, So I think if somebody wanted to take me out, I would have happened. I think it would have been back when I was hit by that tractor trailer truck. I don't think I really have the concerns that I think I did about 10 years ago.
Right.
But I watch my back. I have a pistol permit and that kind of thing. So
Well, you're definitely in the spotlight
I'm
now,
careful.
so it's bad.
Yeah.
I'm
careful.
All right, brother. Nathan, do you have anything else for Thom?
I do not at this time. I was looking over my questions as Thom was talking, and he answered that one, then he answered that one, then he answered that one. So I was like, you know what? I don't have to talk.
Yeah.
This is the easiest show I've ever done.
Not his first rodeo. Hey, Thom, stay on the line 1 second. We're going to pay the bills, and we'll talk to you for a second after the show, okay?
Got it. Okay, guys. Thanks for having me, man.
Wow.
Thank you, sir.
Anytime, brother. Thom Reed, the Reed family UFO case history in the making. All right, Nathan, you hear the music. Let's pay the bills. Special thanks to all our homes, all our sponsors, Stitcher, Smart Radio, Planet Paranormal, Action Audio Apps, Creative Commons, and Midnight Syndicate. Thanks for the tunes. Also, Action Audio Apps, guys. Check them out. They want to know if you're listening. ActionAudioApps.com. The SYL Project. Be Cancer Fighters today. Give some love, guys. SYLProject.com. From the haunted back roads of America, this has been another exclusive G&D Show interview. Don't go changing America. You know we won't. Demon Hunter?
Because we love you.
Night, guys.